Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alright, so hari ini kita akan continue dengan chapter 9, Macroeconomics, ya, Public Policies. Right, jadi so apakah konsep of public policies, right? So the main objective ataupun concern of macroeconomic policy adalah untuk solve macroeconomic problems dan achieve macroeconomic goals, ya. Jadi it's important for government, to know and also to plan the policy lah, appropriate policy in order to curb the macroeconomic problems, right? Jadi basically before we go further lah, kepada government policy, so we need to know the concept of public finance atau public policy dulu lah. So we need to know apakah government's revenue and apakah government's expenditure. Right, so government revenue is money collected by government from various sources. So revenue yang government dapat ada dalam bentuk 3 cara lah, So government can gain revenue from tax revenue, So tax adalah compulsory contribution, imposed by the government on private individuals and organizations to raise revenue to finance the expenditure on public goods and services. So bermaksud di sini, pendapatan terbesar government adalah daripada tax revenue lah. So basically there are two types of tax, direct tax dan juga indirect tax. Direct tax adalah tax where the burden of the tax falls on the taxpayer and cannot be shifted to someone else. Contoh direct tax ni macam income tax, corporate tax. Maknanya tax itu kita yang liable, kita yang perlu bayar, kita tak boleh share dengan orang lain. Tetapi indirect tax, tax where the burden of tax can be shifted to another person. So maknanya kita boleh share, producer and consumer dia boleh share payment of the tax. Contoh macam GST, SST, excise tax, itu adalah considered as indirect tax. So ini adalah jenis revenue terbesar kepada government lah. Kedua, government collect revenue from the non-tax revenue lah, non-tax revenue, revenue which arise from other sources besides tax. Okay, contoh receipts from license, regulation fees and permit, services fees, sales of goods, interest and returns on investment, dan all sorts of all sorts of things yang bukan berdasarkan tax, Dan yang ketiga adalah non-revenue receipts. This category of revenue includes refund of expenditure, interdepartment credit, refund of overpayment, erroneous payment, reimbursement and so on. Right? Jadi ada 3 sources of revenue, daripada tax, daripada non-tax dan juga daripada non-revenue receipts. Okay, so that is revenue. So what about expenditure? So government expenditure divided into 2 lah. So government punya expenses ada 2. Sama ada in operating expenditure ataupun dalam development expenditure. Right, so operating expenditure adalah expenses of operating and administering a government department. So itu adalah operating expenditure. Contoh macam bayaran emolument, service charge, debts, pension, gratuities, grant and transfers and so on. Untuk development expenditure pula, the expenditure for investment purpose to improve facilities and the basic physical infrastructure. Dia untuk development lah, macam building of school, social service, economic service, defense, security, hospitals and so on. Right? So itu adalah 2 jenis expenditure of the government. Okay? So kalau kita lihat pula types of tax, tax ada 3 types of tax tadi, direct and indirect lah, tapi tax ni kita structure dia, structure dia ada 3, sama ada progressive tax, proportional tax ataupun regressive tax. So apa itu progressive tax? Maknanya semakin banyak tax, semakin banyak income, semakin banyaklah orang itu akan di-tax. Okay, so the higher the income, the higher will be the tax. Proportional tax pula adalah, the higher the income, the tax will be constant lah, sama saja, fixed. And regressive tax pula adalah the higher the income, the lower will be the tax. Right, so itu adalah 3 types, 3 types of tax structure. And government budget pula, there are three types of government budget. Kita ada budget deficit, budget surplus dan juga balance budget. Okay. So budget deficit ini berlaku apabila government expenditure greater than the tax. Okay. So a deficit budget happens when the government plan to spend more than it receives. Right. So this can be done by raising government expenditure and reducing the tax. Okay. So government will use this budget when the economy in the recession. So bila berlaku recession, government akan gunakan this lah, budget deficit. Budget surplus pula, tax revenue exceed the expenditure. So the surplus budget will be adopted by the government during inflation. So during inflation, government akan adopt this budget surplus. And balanced budget happens when the government expenditure is equal to the government revenue. Okay, so itu adalah ciri-ciri public finance government. Apa yang government lakukan, apa pendapatan, apa expenditure. Okay, so now baru kita go to the government policy. So basically there are two types of government policy, which are fiscal policy and monetary policy. So apa itu fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is the use of government taxation and expenditure to influence the country's spending, employment and price level. So bila adanya masalah inflation, bila adanya recession atau unemployment, government dia boleh impose fiscal policy. So dia akan gunakan tax dan juga expenditure dia lah. Okay. So basically there are two types of fiscal policy. Kita ada expansionary fiscal policy dan contractionary fiscal policy. So expansionary fiscal policy is adopted during unemployment ataupun recession, bila kegawatan ekonomi lah. So kita nak expand balik ekonomi, government akan impose expansionary fiscal policy. So during recession, so economy akan suffer from rising of unemployment, falling income and shrinking in economic activity. So government akan increase dia punya spending and reduce the tax. So the effect of the tax cut akan increase the amount of disposable income of individual and business firm. Right? During during inflation pula, government akan adopt contractionary fiscal policy. Sebab during inflation, general price level increase continuously. So there is situation where the aggregate spending increases, too much money chasing for too few goods, jadi government akan increase dia punya tax dan reduce dia punya government spending. Right, so ini adalah dua jenis fiscal policy. Expansionary fiscal policy will be adopted during recession, dan contractionary fiscal policy will be adopted during inflation. Right? Jadi apakah tools of fiscal policy? Kita ada government expenditure dan juga tax lah. Right, so government expenditure saya dah explain tadi. Kita ada operating expenditure dan juga development. And untuk tax kita ada jenis-jenis tax lah yang direct tax ataupun indirect tax lah. Okay, right? Okay, so monetary policy, dia adalah this is government policy juga, tetapi government dia akan meminta bantuan daripada central bank, untuk dia implement this monetary policy lah. So basically ada dua jenis monetary policy, expansionary monetary policy dan contractionary monetary policy. Jadi apabila berlaku recession, bila berlaku recession, kegawatan ekonomi, money supply, kecairan dalam ekonomi itu akan berkurangan. So nak tambahkan money supply, government akan implement expansionary monetary policy. Okay. Contractionary monetary policy pula berlaku during inflation. Akan di-adopted during inflation. Sebab during inflation, money supply terlalu banyak, kecairan terlalu banyak. Jadi nak kurangkan kecairan, nak kurangkan money supply, government akan employ atau adopted this contractionary monetary policy. Jadi apakah instrumen dalam monetary policy? Kita ada open market operation, legal reserve requirement, bank or discount rate, dan juga interest rate. Okay, so kita lihat open market operation. So central bank dia akan influence cash reserve of commercial bank through its open market operation. So open market operation ni apa? Dia adalah buying and selling of government security by the central bank to influence cash reserve in commercial bank. So jual beli security, treasury bill, dia macam piece of paper sajalah. Dia bukannya ada apa-apa asset. So dia adalah jual beli paper treasury bill, securities and so on, macam investment jugalah So during inflation, nak kurangkan money supply, central bank akan sell. Dia akan sell this security to the individual, to the firm, to the commercial bank. So that individual to the firms and also commercial bank, dia punya cash tu sedikit lah. So bila kurang cash, kuranglah kita akan spend in the economy. So bila commercial bank pun kurang cash, kuranglah dia dapat memberi loan kepada orang ramai. Jadi orang ramai tidak dapat spend dengan banyak. So money supply akan berkurangan. So masalah inflation akan berkurangan. So during unemployment atau recession pula, money supply berkurangan dalam ekonomi. Nak naikkan money supply, central bank akan buy the securities from the firm, individual and commercial bank. So mereka semua akan mempunyai duit. They will have money, cash reserve. Then they will use the money to spend in the economy. So money supply will increase. So masalah recession atau unemployment will be curbed. Okay. Yang kedua, legal reserve requirement. So this instrument of variable minimum legal cash reserve ratio requirement affects the total amount of the reserve of commercial bank. So legal reserve requirement ni adalah minimum amount of cash that the central bank requires all commercial banks to keep in the central bank. So central bank ni, bank negara lah macam Malaysia ni, dia adalah macam ibu lah kepada semua bank. Macam RHB, Maybank, CIMB, semua tu adalah commercial bank. So this commercial bank, dia kena letakkan amount of money sebagai reserve di dalam central bank. So itu ada dia punya ratio dia yang kita panggil legal reserve requirement ratio. So during inflation, money supply banyaklah, nak kurangkan money supply dalam ekonomi. So central bank dia akan naikkan ratio itu. So bila dia naikkan legal reserve ratio ini, so commercial bank perlu letakkan duit yang agak banyak ke dalam central bank as reserve. Jadi dia mempunyai kurang cash untuk diberi pinjaman loan kepada orang ramai. So bila orang ramai tidak dapat membuat pinjaman, mereka akan kurang spend. Jadi money supply akan reduce. So inflation problem will be solved. During recession pula, central bank akan kurangkan minimum legal reserve requirement ratio. So kurang commercial bank akan masukkan kuranglah dia punya cash yang perlu dimasukkan as reserve ke dalam central bank. Jadi dia mempunyai banyak cash untuk dia beri pinjaman kepada loan kepada orang ramai. So orang ramai boleh meminjam dan orang ramai boleh spend in the economy. So money supply will increase and the problem of recession will be overcome. Okay. Yang ketiga pula bank atau discount rate. So bank atau discount rate ni adalah interest on borrowing. So during inflation, nak kurangkan money supply, government nak encourage orang untuk save and spend less. So nak kurangkan spending, so government akan naikkan this ratio, this bank rate atau discount rate, ataupun interest on borrowing, so that people akan less likely untuk meminjam sebab dia perlu bayar balik mahal kan. So dia kurang meminjam, so money supply berkurangan, masalah inflation pun berkurangan. During recession pula, nak encourage orang spending and kurangkan saving, so government akan turunkan interest on borrowing ini. So kurangkan bank rate, discount rate ini, so people akan meminjam banyak kerana nak bayar balik lebih murah. So ramai akan meminjam, money supply akan meningkat kerana mereka akan spend more dengan duit pinjaman itu. So money supply meningkat, so recession problem akan berkurangan. Dan yang terakhir adalah interest rate. So interest rate ni adalah interest rate on saving. Okay, so during inflation, so government nak encourage orang untuk save more. Jangan spend banyak sebab nak kurangkan money supply. So government akan persuade commercial bank untuk kurangkan interest on meningkatkan naikkan interest on saving during inflation. So ramai orang akan lebih banyak menyimpan berbanding spending. So bila mereka lebih banyak menyimpan berbanding spending, inflation problem akan berkurangan kerana money supply berkurangan. During recession pula, government nak encourage orang spending and save less. So interest on saving ini akan dikurangkan during recession. So orang ramai akan lebih banyak spend instead of saving. So money supply akan meningkat dalam ekonomi kerana mereka akan banyak spending. So masalah apa kita panggil tu recession will be curb, right? So inilah ya antara instrumen ya fiscal policy and monetary policy ya public policy lah yang government akan adopted semasa berlakunya masalah ekonomi lah ya sama ada inflation dan juga recession, right? Right, so that's all for chapter 9. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.